Welcome, welcome. If I don't totally know how this all works yet, giving this a try out here. Let me make sure my mics are all set up properly. Nope, there we go. Gotta set my mic up properly. Okay, sound should be a lot better. Yeah, we're trying this out because one of the things that this allows us to do is watch YouTube on the screen. I can kind of stream things straight onto YouTube from YouTube here. So like we could watch like player reviews, things like that as well. Yeah, and then the other thing it allows for is stages. So it's kind of like Twitter Spaces, um, where you can come on and talk. And so that's kind of the idea. It's pretty cool. There's no ads, things like that. So maybe for some different type of content than the usual thing, where I want to review during the season, if we're talking about matches after the game, previewing post game, it might be better as a platform for something like that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Want to give it a try. It's a new platform that they invited me to take part in. Obviously, I think anybody can, but they invited me to kind of do it as a partner of it, and I want to give it a try, see what it's like, see what we've got here. Give me a second. And then I'll put some things on the screen. It's just a little easier for kind of a different type of idea, different thing that we want to do. So we'll get going in it in just a second. And then what I want to do is I want to show some like stats and numbers, things like that on Ugarte, and then I want to go to like a YouTube video and then bring people in for some discussion. Hang on. Just give me just 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. This is all a little bit new to me, so I'm just trying to figure it out. Give me a sec. Sorry for the slowness. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's do it. You got banned on Discord for having Eric Cartman dressed up as Hitler as a joke. Yeah, we don't tend to like depictions of Hitler being. Yeah. Yeah, I think you have yourself to blame for that, to be honest. All right. Let's do it. Not going to be necessarily the same audience as on YouTube. Remember, you can subscribe, and that will allow you to chat. You don't have to pay anything. There's no ads. There's nothing. So it's just kind of yeah, do whatever. I'll get to a bunch of questions. Later, but I do want to structure this a little bit. I'm just waiting for a few more people to get involved. And then we'll get going. But I kind of do want to structure this and follow a pattern because I want to see how this works, and I don't want it to take too long to do everything. Yeah. And then I'll answer questions. I'll bring people on stage. Can anybody see, if you're here right at the moment, can you see how to like request to go on stage? Is there a way? Pending requests to speak. I'm not seeing any. Like on your end, do you see a button that shows you? Can somebody click it just so I can see? Okay, cool. So you did it, and then I can approve or deny it. Awesome. All right, cool. Okay, cool. I'm gonna turn it off now. Remember, if you want to come on, you're gonna have to have your audio sorted out, things like that, to come on and speak. Yeah. So I'm gonna deny those at the moment. Sorry, and then I will I'll bring you up here afterwards. We'll check it out. Okay. So let's do it. Let's get started so that we're let's get started. And then you'll see why I'm using this one specifically for what I want to do. Let's see, screen. There we go. Cool. So first and foremost, you can move all of this stuff. You can make, I think, me smaller or bigger if you want. You can change things around a little bit if you can't see this well enough. But I wanted to talk about Manuel Ugarte, talk about whether he was potentially, what kind of player he is, whether he's a good fit for United. The interest in him is definitely real, and I think it paints a picture of what kind of player United are looking for. So what I've done here is, this is just this app that I use to compare and look at players. Let me make it a little bit bigger so that we can read it a little better. And so it's a radial for last year, defensive midfielders. These are percentile ranks. The blue is Ugarte, the red Casemiro. And the point of doing these kind of comparisons is, I think, in general, is just to get a basic idea of what kind of player you're talking about. So, Jesus Christ. When you're looking at this, we could start at the top in terms of touches, okay? Comparing him to Casemiro, both getting on the ball about as much. Can't see the bottom? What do you mean? Can't see the bottom? You can see the bottom down here, right? No, and for sure, these look these look terrible. You know, yeah, when you do these kind of things, they look bad on players, and I think they're not necessarily a judge of quality, but potentially a judge of what would you call it? Maybe just style, or what they focus on. Pigeon party hat. So, you know, when you look at this overall, you can see that, you know, tackle percentage, Ugarte a bit better than Casemiro. This is based on last year, right? This is based on last year. So right standard about in terms of the success rate for tackles. You can see that Casemiro plays a lot more progressive football in terms of passing the ball than Ugarte. And I think, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is I looked at all of this, and it matched up a lot of the ways that people tend to describe you know, the player overall, which is that he's not a progressive passer. So he's not going to be moving the ball forward, passing it a lot. His progressive carries are a little bit better. They're a bit above average as we keep going down the right side. His progressive distance is extremely low, 15th percentile compared to Casemiro. So last year, what did we see with Casemiro? Get on the ball and launch it, right? That's what he was doing most of the year. Depends what you want. If you want Ugarte to be a guy progressing the ball up the pitch, he's probably not that guy at all, right? If you want Kobbie Mainoo to focus on progressions, or you want the progressions to come through the fullbacks, then, you know, he makes a little bit more sense. His passing percentage was in the 90th percentile, so he's a very, very safe passer. Safe, non-progressive passing, a little bit better in carrying. Yeah, right? His strengths, if we look at possessions won, extremely high, 92nd percentile, recoveries in opposition half, 96th percentile, possession adjusted, I did these per possession adjusted interceptions, 98th, possession adjusted recoveries, 98th, 96th, possession adjusted tackles and interception, 96th, successful defensive actions, possession adjusted, 94th, XG buildup 89th. So that's interesting in that he was involved, even though not progressing the ball, in a lot of the goals when he was on the pitch. So that's it's interesting. So if I look at this from just a basis of stats, it's just one part of the picture. An aggressive ground covering ball winner who's going to go around and make tackles, but is not particularly going to progress the play, is not particularly going to move it forward. So, you know, That I think that's kind of interesting. I can't do Hjulmand. Unfortunately, the stats for what would you call it? Portuguese league, it doesn't work in here. So, there's other things that we could do though. We could compare to other players who are out and out DM. So I needed like, who's another option? Like we could compare him to, I don't know what Rice would be listed as in here, right? Let's see. Declan Rice. Yeah, okay. So he's also a defensive midfielder, so it'll work. So if we compare him to Declan Rice in a similar way, we can see that, Declan Rice is a better tackler. Declan Rice is a lot more progressive still. Declan Rice has good defensive stats. Ugarte's are still better. Now it's a different league, of course, and some of these are possession adjusted. Okay, so it's still, all of that. His stats are solid. They stand out in terms of his volume of ball winning, right? Yeah, a lot of his volume of ball winning, his volume of defensive work is really high, and I think that's how I would describe him based on the stats. Just looking at it, that he's somebody who definitely just wins the ball a lot, but isn't going to progress it. And the question, of course, is that what United need? Is that what United want? Let's look at João Paulinho. Similar, right? Similar. I would say he's pretty similar to Paulinho. He's better on the ball carrying it, but similar to João Paulinho. Yeah, yeah. Safer in passing, although part of that is Enrique and PSG. High percentage passing. Better carrying it, but similar in terms of a profile. That's the type of player he is. Whether he's good enough is a different question, but this is the type of player that he is, a volume defensive player. He's not going to progress it much. It probably won't compare well to Onana because Onana, I believe, is listed as a center mid, and it gets no, Andre. See, he's going to say that that's not even my name. That's a terrible accent. Let's see. No. Okay, he's listed as defensive midfielder. So if we compare him to Onana, then Onana much better in the air, better tackler, more progressive in passing. Onana doesn't do the dirty work in the same way. So here's my question for a lot of people when we look at somebody like this. Who do you want? What kind of player do you want next to Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes? For me, I want a ball winner. I don't know if Ugarte is good enough, but it looks like the profile is to go for a ball winner, a defensive, like who's doing the dirty work to win the ball back? That's my question. Who's doing the dirty work to win the ball back in a midfield of Bruno, Kobbie, and whoever? If you go and stick Onana in there, well, he's a good presser. He does win the ball back. He doesn't do that much dirty work. Do you need that? Do you need that do you need a real like guy who's going to go out and win the ball? City. Let's look, right, because I think that would be my concern when you take someone like Rodri and stick him in here. Obviously, he's a better player, but look at now Rodri's in look at Rodri's defensive stats, right? He's doing a lot of the dirty work. I mean, he's insane. He's in blue now. It switched colors, but he is doing a lot of the defensive work. There is someone doing the defensive work in that midfield. We looked at Declan Rice. Right? He also does a high amount of defensive work. My concern with someone like Onana, who I really like, is who's going to do that work for United. That's the thing, a question. Let's look at Fofana, okay? Yeah, let's look at Fofana. Yusuf Fofana. Is that the right one? Yusuf? Oh, he's listed as a center mid, so it's not gonna do good for us. It messed up all our stats as well, I think. No, it didn't. He's a center mid, so it's gonna kind of mess up the percentiles, but Fofana, Hmm. Stats are really good though. I mean, overall, but I can't really compare with John Neves, unfortunately. Here we can do things like, no, not all positions. Let's do raw numbers just for this comparison, right? There. You can see tackles attempted. Ugarte doubles Yusuf Fofana, right? Doubles on interceptions. Not as offensive. So that's my question. I understand that Onana can. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just talking about like obviously Onana is a young, very physical, great profile of player who I really like. And I would take him. But bear in mind what I'm saying is that like at the moment he's not doing the dirty work for Everton, right? And it would tell me if we are looking at someone like a what do you call it? If we're looking at someone like Ugarte, then we want someone doing the dirty work. That's kind of what I'm gathering. Why is this not didn't update? Hold on a second. There we go. So when you look at like a João Gomez, check it. This is much better, right? Tackles attempted similar, lower on interceptions. I say much better. I mean more similar. These are more similar players in some respect, right? They're both pretty low on the offensive stats and higher on tackles and recoveries and things like that. Let's see. Edging Zirkzee, yeah. Well, and I want to talk about Zirkzee in a minute too. Like I want to do this with a few players, but hold on. Was there an article? Was it something? No, there wasn't anything. And Nistelrooy in talks over coaching role. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Continuing to negotiate a new deal. Just seeing if there's anything. Good progress being made. Refreshing the backroom staff. Yeah, dependent on Ten Hag signing fresh terms. So I'm just reading this thing. Yeah. Yeah, Jacobs. I'm not gonna say anything. No, I'm just reading this athletic thing, right? Yeah. So what we know, it's confirming talks moving forward with Ten Hag. The Van Nistelrooy joining is going to be dependent, certainly dependent on the new contract with Ten Hag getting approved. Yeah, cool. So yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying like, but this is my question for you, and why don't I what yeah, all right. I'm gonna do something else first, and then what I want to do is bring some people on stage to talk about this midfielder role, and that maybe that will make the discussion because that seems like what people are debating. What kind of midfielder do we need? What kind of midfielder do we want? Um, you know, and I'm talking purely about the type of player if they're looking at an Ugarte, when you think about the profile, because I won't say I know enough to say whether he'd be a good signing or not. I'm talking about the type of profile is somebody that is high volume defensive work, right? That's just the reality. Um, that's what we're looking at. Let's look at Ugarte versus Chouameni. This will be an interesting one, I think. Let me minimize this a little bit here. So similar. Ugarte does way more defensive work, but Chouameni is a better tackler. Ugarte does more interceptions, similar safe passing. Chouameni more progressive. So Chouameni's better. He does more for sure. He does more. There's no doubt about that. Interesting. I lost a bunch of my stats, but whatever. It is what it is. So let's well, I don't know about that, Lamuel. I think I just kicked somebody off. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is, but it's not YouTube. I don't think I get banned if somebody does something stupid if I kick them off quickly. It's not the same type of platform. You know what I mean? Good and bad. I don't know what to make of that, but people do it all the time. All right, let's do something else. So here's what I want to then look at, and it's just because this is what we have. Um, just to look at this together, and then I'll bring people on stage. Hold on. It's probably going to start playing a video from me. Give it a second. It's going to show me twice. Hold on. Can we listen to some Kendrick songs together? So like there's this from United People's TV. People were suggesting them. They made a video today. By the way, you can change the volume to listen to me or listen to what's on the screen. You have that own option to see. Yeah. Here. Just gonna put this link if you guys wanna go. Oh, I don't actually know how to do this. I don't think I can. Copy. Can I do that? No, I can't. Anyway, this is United People's TV. So if you want to watch this video yourself, you can. Let me just skip forward. So like I watched this a little bit earlier. This is some of the things they were noting. Good age profile, strong defensive game, high rate, high ball retention. He is a high ball retention player. Strong engine, can keep going. Counter presser, excellent at sporting. Good deal because the stock is low. Those all make sense. And then he says bad, progression was really low, technical limitations. I can drive stick, actually. I had a Subaru WRX, and yeah, I learned to drive stick with that. Dribbled past a lot. Is he the balance between Manu and Bruno? Yeah, so anyway, I would recommend like videos like this for better reviews because I don't know exactly how to do, all of that. Here's what I want to watch. There's a video of Ugarte for Sporting playing against Arsenal. And I, rather than watching like a review, maybe watch a couple of minutes. Can you not see anything? You should be able to see this kind of stuff. I don't understand this thing. Hold on a second. This is my fault. All right, here. Tell me now that you can see something. Can you see a video now? I'm learning a little bit of this. Okay, cool. Okay. So I wanted to watch this, just to get an idea of what kind of, rather than like a review, watch an actual footage of a game, of what a player is doing. And kind of see. I mean, obviously energetic, gets all over the place in the midfield, steps into things. I mean, he's a yeah, I mean, you can see his position. He starts deep, he's aggressive. You can turn the audio on the video down. You control that. There's a little audio thing on the left. You do that, not me. It's for you. You customize it. Yeah, you do that yourself. Covers ground. He's energetic. He starts obviously as more of a deeper player, and gets up there. I mean, on ball, you're probably not going to learn too much. I doubt they barely had much of the ball, though. The carrying there is obviously he's competent. I mean, he's not like he's a quality player. And then there's a Ugarte versus Tottenham, so I want to look it up. Yeah, I want to look at that. I mean, he's not going to be amazing in there. You can see a lot of defensive work. I mean, that's. I think that's what you're gonna get. I don't think you learn whether a player is good enough based on videos like this, obviously, but you get an idea. I mean, enormous amounts of defensive work. He kind of looks like, if you know me, you know what I'm gonna say. A little bit like a Fred in that respect. I'm just saying. A little better on ball probably, but defensively covers the ground, gets around there, does the dirty work, a little bit like a better Fred in that respect. My favorite phrase, a better Fred. I know Mason Mount. Mason Mount's obviously a bit more offensive, but can we watch Anthony highlights? Are there Anthony highlights? I'll click one more after this, and then I'll just to watch, and then we'll bring people in. And I wanted to use this one because obviously it's against England, an English team, good English team. This all will be recorded, and then you can watch these similar to YouTube on the playback thing later on. You can watch as much as you want. Did he get a red this game? That's pretty funny. Good game, but it gets a red card. That's hilarious. Good stuff. We'll watch one more. Maybe not all of this. It's only 2 minutes long. This is against Tottenham. Yeah. I know it wasn't a comp, to be fair. That's why I picked these. It's more like a full game, like what all the things that happened in that game. It's not a highlights reel of like a bunch of different things. That's why I wanted to watch it. I don't like watching highlight reels. It doesn't tell me anything. Like I like to see a full highlights of a full game, at least like one game, what they did in that game. Any occasion of being able to take, everyone's got to go in these types of occasions. I mean, you can see what he's doing. He's good on the ball. He's not like stupid. He's not stupid on it. I mean, he's not like a nothing on the ball. That's for sure.
Harry Kane goes down. Angles tight. Kane's in there. Pushed away from it.
Yeah.
Perisic. Good movement here from Harry Kane.
All right. Cool. So that's fine. We'll leave that at that, right? How do I stop this? Let's remove that. So yeah, I mean, I think what we get is that we have a player here who's kind of good on the ball, decent stylistically, does a lot of the dirty work, ground coverage. And so then the question becomes, obviously, if he's good enough is a different question. I wouldn't say good on the ball, but he's not bad. He seems decent on it in terms of maintaining possession and all that. But somebody who's going to do the dirty work, who's not going to progress the ball forward much, going to be a safe passer. So yeah, let's bring some people on. Let's bring some people on and tell me kind of your thoughts. Functional on the ball, a lot of defensive work. That's what it is. Let's bring some people on here. Let's see how this works. Unorthodox. Let's see. I invited you, so you're gonna have to. I don't know how it works. Let's see. Let's see how this works. Actually, I have no idea how this is gonna work. If I invited you, I don't know what you have to do that, but I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds to accept it on stage. All right, can you hear me? Let's see if I can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
Oh, okay.
There's a little echo when I'm speaking. I don't know if you can turn that down.
Yeah, but I can hear you. So I think that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. What did you want to say?
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's okay, having a good day. And then, on Ugarte, the guy looks like a good player. He looks like a decent player. But if you go back and, look at the chat, I actually made the comparison to Fred before you. He just looks like I would say a more physical, like deeper Fred. He's a decent player though, but it depends how much we would invest on him because he's not going to be useful in build up. He doesn't have that pauser, that how can I say, just that press resistance. Yeah, he doesn't have that, and I don't think he's that good in the air. That's something that I don't think he's good. I haven't watched him much, but of what I've seen, he's an okay player. It's gonna depend on the price, But you have to look at what we need. also we need athleticism because you look at Kobe, he's not a very fast player, especially when we're tracking back, he doesn't have the legs. So you need someone who's going to have those legs as well, you know. That's why I do like a player like Onana because although he's probably going to be expensive, he's not the best ball winner, but he's got the height, he's got the athleticism. I think he can be a very good ball winner if he adjusts to the role. So I don't know, but Ugarte looks like a good player. A good player. I wouldn't go further than I'd say 35 million pounds, I guess.
Yeah, those are good points, and I think that an unorthodox take. I think those are good points. I think that's a fair opinion um, on that, and obviously, there's downsides to him. Like you said, I think maybe a deeper Fred is a good thing. He's not going to be exceptional on the ball. Maybe provide some defensive work. There might be better options certainly out there. You wouldn't want to go spend 60, 70 million on a player who certainly has limitations. If you could get him on like a loan and an option, something like that, see how he does, then I think it would be potentially a good one. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, and appreciate you coming on. All right, let's see. Who else? Anybody else want to come on and bring something on here? Ben. Ben, I know you. Oh, no, not you. Parth. Oh, okay. All right, no worries. You could be shy. I'll get you. I'll get you Bruni in a minute. Okay. I'll get you Bruni in a minute. Um, where are you, Parth? Come on, buddy. I know you too. They don't want a loan from Ugarte. Okay. Yeah, so they have to be a good price. A good price. All right, Parth.
Yeah, I think Manuel. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. Go ahead.
I think he has a huge ceiling. I've seen a lot of him, to be honest, at Sporting as well. He has a huge ceiling. This kid can play. He can develop. I was shocked, to be honest, to see us linked to him all of a sudden, and that's really surprised me. Like he is an immense player. He can actually be Rodri level. He is superb. This kid. I've really seen him play. Yeah.
Good. What do you think that he would be the type of player? I mean, everybody will have their opinions on how good. Do you think
Yeah.
that the type of player we need is someone, who's going to do that dirty work, or what would you like in our midfield?
See, the thing is, we know it's going to be Ten Hag next season. We need someone like him to do it. We can't have everyone bombing forward and then have Manu or Casemiro roaming around. He has more energy than Casemiro. Definitely, he's not a CDM yet. But if you really ask me, if he gets better in the air with his heading, he can really do that job in a better system, in a more compact system of a lone DM. But for now, I was really shocked. If we get him, he is the one to spend money on. To be honest, like he is a superb player, Manuel Ugarte. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, cool. Anything else you wanted to say about that? That's a
No,
interesting
thanks,
opinion.
James. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, buddy. See you later.
See you. Bye.
All right, Rooney. Let's do one more. Come give me your thoughts. You there, Rooney? Here's your moment. You there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. My main thing about our next DM is ground coverage, good in transition, and maybe good in the air. And the things that I've read on Twitter, like the people who know more about Ugarte than me, is like their main concern is him not being good in transition or not being physical enough. Because if you watched him against AC Milan earlier in the year, he got bodied by Loftus Cheek, like absolutely bodied. It was not a great game, and this is my main concern. If like the next DM has to be like good in transition, good ground coverage, because like even at Ajax, like people think that Erik ten Hag played a position-based style. Well, he did, but he was also very direct. Like if you look at Ajax,
Yeah.
they
Yep.
were pretty like direct, like
Yep.
always vertical passes, like most of the time. So yeah, that's just my thing. Like if Ugarte comes in, like he has to be good in transition, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. And for you, let me ask you, what would you value more if you consider the midfield is Kobe Mainu and Bruno for that extra midfielder? Do you value more the on ball and progression based, or the off ball out of possession defensive work? Which one do you means more?
Um, yeah, that's a bit tough to be honest. Like both, of course. That's the easy answer. But
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
to be yeah, like even with Edson Alvarez, like at Ajax, like a lot of Ajax fans will tell you that the biggest problem from him was not being like good on the ball, but
Mm,
he still kind of worked. So yeah, like the most important thing, of course, is like the physical aspect, the ground coverage,
mm,
that's the most important thing for me. So yeah, he has to have the technical floor. Like he has to be at least like a little bit technical, like not be underneath it, if you know
hmm.
what I mean. So that's my
Yeah.
biggest like my yeah.
Good.
So like yeah, he doesn't have to be like a Rodri on the ball. Like he doesn't have to be as good as Manu on the ball, but at least have the technical, you know, levels
Yeah,
to
makes
work on the
sense.
Ten Hag.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna do one more with Hamza, and then I'll talk about a couple more things. Okay. All right, Hamza, are you ready here? Be nice to people who are coming on and sharing their opinions, unless you will as well. It's easier. It's easier to type than to talk. Always is. Hamza, you there?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
First, like to shout out the channel. I think you guys have been doing amazing work over the past 2 3 years. I mean, I see Ornstein and then I see the Muppeteers, so I'd like to shout you guys on that. You guys have
Appreciate
been
it,
doing
brother.
amazing work.
I appreciate it very much.
About Manuel Ugarte, so throughout the summer we've been looking at midfield targets and no one really stood out. I didn't think we could get linked to someone of that caliber. I think he's a wonderful player. I think he's a level above, in my opinion, the use of Fofanas, the Joao Gomez's,
Hmm.
and there's an opportunity to get him at potentially lower cost or most preferably a loan or a loan with option. So that way we can see if he fits with us, and if he doesn't, next summer maybe we can go for a Joao Neves or someone that when we have more, I guess, funds for that midfield. In terms of him as a profile, I'm not a Sporting fan, not a PSG fan, but I've watched some of his games. He does the dirty work. He is a simple passer. He can move the ball around, and he's not that bad technically. And we always said that we wanted someone to complement Kobe. About Amadou Onana, I think he is a very good player, but with Everton and Gerard Braithwaite, it's going to be tough. And
Yep.
we haven't
Right.
seen Amadou Onana as a lone six all the time, and he does like to drive forward. So I think the best option for United, if it's possible, is either a cut price deal or a loan with some sort of option. Would that be best, or obligation for Manuel Ugarte? I think he does the dirty work. I think Kobe can, be himself and not have to push back. And potentially, I don't know. I always try to ask this question to you. If
Yeah.
we can sell both Kaze and Scott, which is hard, but like, you think maybe we could, get another midfielder in, but
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
thinking either or? But
No,
that's really my
I
thoughts.
think too. Yeah, good point. And yes, I think if you move both of them on, you get to, especially as Ericsson has a good chance of leaving as well. He's
Yeah.
kind of playing in you've got Mason Mount there to back up Bruno now. You've got Kobe Manu, you've got other things. You've got options, I mean, you can even have players like Ahmad who can play almost into the midfield and attacking area. So if you sell Casemiro and Scott, you kind of do need two midfielders coming in there to back things up. one injury, you don't want to be down to nothing. So for sure. Now, I guess one could debate, if you sell both, do you go and just spend a whole bunch of money on someone?
No.
I'm not sure that anybody wants to do this, but spend a whole bunch of money on like a João Neves if he's actually costing 80 to 100 million. I guess that depends strongly on how you rate him. But yeah, I mean, Ugarte seems to be someone we don't have that profile. You think that's how I see it?
Yeah, that's how I see it. It's someone who is willing to sit back. Ugarte is not. He's not an 8 at the end of the day. I know
Mhm.
people are saying he's an 8. He's not an 8. All his key statistics are in the defensive end, in the tackling, and etc. Yes, he may need Kobe, but Kobe is also very good at pushing back and collecting the ball and driving forward. So I don't think that's a problem. Kobe is not Bernardo Silva like Roger has to deal with. He's not
Mm.
Havertz like an Odegaard. He's a person who's a box to box. So I think Ugarte could suit really well. And if we get to sell two, the impossible deal to get Archie Gray is the best bet for the second midfielder, in my opinion.
Yeah, that
But
would be
that's
nice, but that seems impossible,
yeah.
unfortunately.
But
All
I
right,
appreciate
cool.
the
Thank
challenge.
you. Yeah, thanks, Hamza. Thanks for coming on. Thanks very much. Cool. All right. All right, cool. So what I'm gonna do now, I think this is a good discussion. Yeah, I don't think, unfortunately, Archie Gray is someone United like, but yeah, it reminds me of that because we talked about him before. The next one I want to talk about, and give me a second because this will take a second to sort out, is Zirkzee, because I think he's let me take that comment. Most mentioned in ground coverage is main attribute, but I think comes back to the manager and style of play. If we're moving towards possession, or if we're persistent with current style. Current style, we need someone that covers and eats up ground, but I think it's less important if we're moving towards possession. Well, I think that, I think part of the thing is that if you're having, like was mentioned by Rooney there, if you're having Ten Hag staying, I don't think he's going to change his way of playing that much. He is a direct manager, same at Ajax. There are lots of spaces. There are lots of transitions. There is a lot of that. That's just going to be the case. I don't think he's capable of completely changing. I think possession can also look different. I mean, Liverpool have a possession-based team, but they had a high possession team, but huge amounts of ground coverage from midfielders. Henderson was doing amazing work there for years as a pretty basic midfielder in some ways, on just purely recycling possession and eating up ground, right? So there's a lot of different ways that we can move forward with possession. I think we don't know enough to say what the 100% way of doing it will be. Now they also progress to the fullbacks a lot, things like that, and so that's part of the factor as well. So let's look at this because I'm just curious here. Rasmus. Let's look at our Rasmus versus Zirkzee. So, obviously the strikers are so much more like dependent on the team. There's no doubt about that in terms of looking at styles. So this may not be totally demonstrative. But you can see with Zirkzee here, I mean, this huge difference, and obviously it is team based, and he played for a better team in terms of getting the ball, but certainly I would imagine that he drops in quite a bit more into it, getting more involved, getting more onto the ball, getting more touches, key passes, assists, successful box entries, take on some more of a dribbler. Rasmus is a really good shooter, a better finisher. That's where he's been like world class. If we look at that, but he takes really high percentage chances too. If we look over here, Rasmus has taken high percentage chances rather than volume chances, and they're ending up about the same. So a lot fewer shots, same number of goals. And it's interesting. I think personally, there's one thing Rasmus could improve on is trying, in terms of rounding his game out from a scoring perspective, is take more shots. Like, you got to get in position to shoot more, because some of the shot taking is him kind of waiting for the absolute best case scenario. I think that's just my opinion. and getting, you know, better shots there. I wonder if I can see like their pass. Hold on, I'm just curious. There's a lot of things I can do on this. Player report. I just want to look at something here. Yeah, Rude would help. But let me just see. This is Bruno. Let's look at like Zirkzee. Oh, not the Premier League. Let's look at Serie A. And hope I don't crash this thing, because I do on occasion crash this thing. I'm just curious if I can. Oh, yeah, there you go. See, crashed it, but that's fine. I'm going to switch over here again, because what I wanted to watch, you know, the numbers are really hard to measure on Zirkzee, on strikers, because there's a lot of differences in terms of, you know, just the way that teams play, and strikers tend to be overly, I would say, dependent, right? A lot of times they're overly dependent on how you play. But let me see here. So let's see. There's this one. Stream to room. This is why Manchester United want Joshua Zirkzee. The highlight one, but see a little bit more. I mean, even in most of the highlights, you can see deciding to. We'll see, like, staying deep. Look how deep he is, right, in these videos compared to the other forwards. I think that's just at least worth paying attention to. Getting on the ball, good dribbling, focusing on making a pass. Yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, a lot of it is the same. So here's more like a breakaway with a shot, I imagine. Yeah. You can change the volume. Reminder, in the bottom left, you address the volume. You can change it separately for me or for the stream. That's up to you. You do that. That's not on my end on this platform. A lot of passing. I mean, he's a creator, honestly. Definitely more of a creator in that respect. He's quality. I mean, the technical ability is obviously there. You can see that. I'm not worried about selections for national teams. I think they're not picked based on merit, especially Holland. Yeah, he look. You know, Rashford and Garnacho would love him, and that's how I feel. You know, that you know, Martial regen. You know, for Bobby Firmino type of player, like, yeah. That's how I see it. A player who's going to drop in a lot of back to goal, a lot of passing, a lot of making it. I know it's a new thing, this, you know, where you can see the difference, like changing the volumes yourself. It's different than YouTube. I mean, yeah, I would definitely, yeah, right. You know, if you put Sancho in that false 9 role, then you probably. This is kind of what you'd be expecting, but he's bigger, he's more physical. He's definitely different. I mean, he is absolutely nothing like Rasmus Højlund in this respect. Absolutely nothing. He's hardly the first man leading the line. Yeah, Firmino. That's how I see it. Getting deep a lot. I mean, he is really good on the ball, though. Like Kane. Yeah, I really like it. I really do. I've said before, I feel like, to me, he's almost, I've said this in the Discord a bit, that to me, he's almost maybe the most exciting signing that we've been linked with, only because we don't have this at all. And if you could drop him in and run Rashford, Højlund, Garnacho off of him, I think we could get a lot out of these types of players. Yeah, he was at Bayern. They have a buyback for him, too, if they wanted him. If he wanted to go. If we could get him, like, I do feel it's a really, really interesting player who would do a lot for the team, gives us more options, you know, allowing Bruno to run past him, similar in the way that they worked with Martial, all of that. Very, very interesting. Let me see. Can I find a full video of like a game? Hold on. Because now there's just going to be a bunch of highlights. Here's Zirkzee versus Man City when he was at Bayern. Interesting. This was a long time ago. I mean, I'm going to guess there's going to be like 5 seconds of footage, right? Yeah, pretty much. Same as ever. I mean, same I mean, this is a very short video and from a while ago, but pressing, facilitating, he's doing the same things his whole career, right? I mean,
I want to win, but I want to win better, and that's probably what.
yeah, let me try to find a match. Is there a match anywhere? I don't want like a highlight video. I want a match. I don't see if I can find one. It's hard to find one. I want to find a full, not a full match, but obviously like a. I don't want the highlight reels. If I can't find one, then it is what it is. There may not be a good one at the moment. I'll have to try to search for one later. But I do think it's an interesting. I'll find this later. I'll do something on that later. But yeah, I think it's an interesting profile. I think it's an interesting difference. And yeah, guys, when someone comes on, says something, you don't have to get in and start arguing with them in the chat. Just leave it alone. But for me, like I've said, there's truth in, doubts, concerns, not just general things that happen in football with regards to the role of players like, Bruno, Rashford, etc., where, Bruno doesn't want to be deeper with McTominay making the last man runs. Rashford doesn't want to be a touchline winger. And it's not about doesn't want to so much as where are they best at and where do they know that their roles are most effective. And Garnacho is the same type of player. And getting a facilitator like that at striker, a different profile, I think gives you a lot more options there. And I think at the same time, Rasmus Højlund could play off of a player like that, And I'm going to give Ten Hag credit here because I tend to be pretty critical of him overall. He played with this type of player a lot, Tadic, Martial, he wanted Weghorst in a way, he's used this profile of 9 or forward a lot. He's used this profile of a forward a lot. And the worst case, it gives us 4 really good options to kind of bend it all together and see how the whole team can fit. But let's go. Let me get some thoughts on Zirkzee, on the striker, on the profile, what you think of that. So come United Ronnie, are you still here? Did you want to talk about Zirkzee or something different? But otherwise, request to come on to talk about this, and I'll do this one, and then I'll probably end it for today after that. I think this is a pretty interesting way of doing things that we can do from time to time in addition to the normal videos and lives and things like that, especially if I want to watch videos and do things. Ronnie, are you still around? Can you type in a chat if you're still around? And anybody else, if you want to come on stage and share your opinions on Zirkzee, then request to get on stage. If you haven't been on yet, I will try and get you on. Raf, you can request to join if you can, okay? And I'll get you up here. I'm gonna assume United Ronnie is not around. Anybody else? Anybody else who hasn't been on? I see you, Parthen. If some of these don't come on, then I'll get you back on, okay? There we go. All right, cool. Oh, Jay, come on, Jay. I know you. And then I'll get you, Raf, and then I'll move it around. Are you coming on, Jay? Jay. Where are you, Jay? All right, Jay. I'm gonna move it on, Jay. Maybe next time. Jay's gone to sleep. Oh no, wait. Oh wait, what's going on here? Jay. There you are.
Hey.
I was trying to give you a video.
Sorry
There
about that. I
right.
didn't know I actually had to accept it.
No worries. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
how you
What do you
doing?
want to
Good?
What do you want to say, buddy? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just I was kind of shocked that we were linked to Ugarte because didn't really hear his name the whole of summer. But then it makes sense because PSG trying to move for Neves, so
Mm-hmm.
they would be looking to move on Ugarte. But the way that I watched Pythagoras's videos,
Mm-hmm.
Pythagoras and Boots. So he did this video on Ugarte last year, and it kind of makes sense with what I saw from him. Like I first watched him in that Europa League tie against Arsenal, and I was pretty
Mm-hmm.
impressed with what I saw. I can't lie. Um, he's quite physical. He kind of reminds me of like Martinez, but a midfield version of him. Like there's quite a lot of like South American qualities in his game. Obviously, he's from Uruguay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Energetic
he's
and
quite
physical. Yeah, that's pretty much the
yeah,
baseline there. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. He he's quite limited in his passing range compared to like say like other deep midfielders. He's more of like a destroyer. But what I heard Pythagoras say was that he's more of a double pivot type player. He doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would be your sole six. Like
Yep.
I don't. And also, he doesn't really pass or like play with a lot of pause in the sense that everything he does is like very one track. So say the opposition is pressing us quite aggressively. In that sense, he could put us in trouble because the way that he passes,
Yep.
he can't slow down play. He isn't like, willing to take on like, players like one on
Mm-hmm.
one and like those kinds of situations to alleviate pressure. So I could see it like, be a concern in that sense if we try to play him as a lone six. If we like try to pair him with Mainu, then I could see that working. I'm not too sure on it because I don't know why PSG want to move him on, but like the exact reason. I wanted
It
to
seems
ask you
like he's
about
just
that.
mostly out of favor with the current coach that has preference for
Mm.
others, and they don't like to sit on kind of those expensive assets. And like you said, moving for João Neves as well, they just want a bit of a different type
Mm,
of player for the most part. I think that's what it is, and yeah, I think that that's fair. I mean, to some degree, we've really struggled, no matter who we have, in trying to be that lone six with the other midfielders pushing way up there, because finding a player who can do that at a good price is pretty tough. Casemiro couldn't do it this last year, obviously, and I think the year before it was a bit more of a pivot, with two players in there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's fair as to positives and negatives with regards to Ugarte. Do you have anything thoughts on like Zirkzee, for example?
Zirkzee, yeah, I rate where you come from on Xerxes. Like, obviously, I've been listening for quite a while, and like, I think unlocking like some of the other assets that we have is like way more important because if you think about trying to replace like the output that Rasher or Bruno bring, that would just cost way more. So if we could get Xerxes in and like unlock that potential, it'd be a like much cheaper alternative to just replacing everyone, sell Rashford, sell Bruno, everyone, and like just rebuild the whole system. I think that's counterproductive. So if you allow Xerxes to drop deeper and allow those runners to, feed off that, that would be like way more productive. That's how I see it. Like obviously, like lockdown version of Martial, where he was
Mm-hmm.
dropping
Yep.
deeper, allowing all these like runners to. And I think that's kind of like when Bruno first joined, and like his form was just unbelievable. Like and I think that that system really suited all of our players who were like playing at their best at the time. So I really like Xerxes. I think it's a good option, but
Yeah.
have to see if we
Cool.
could get it done.
Yep. Well, appreciate it, Jay. Thank you. I'm going to bring someone else on here. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, bro.
All right, Ref. I'm bringing you in now. Okay. Make sure you accept if you're still there. To come give me your thoughts on Zirkzee. You've got to accept it. There you are, buddy. All right. Go ahead.
How's it going, man?
Good. You?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Just gonna request a few minutes here because I don't know how long I'll be on because I have a doctor's appointment in a little bit. But yeah. Regarding Xerxes, It would be quite an interesting signing because, like, if you think about Anthony Martial, for example, who a lot of people are comparing his profile with, Martial is a pretty
Mhm.
like divisive player when it comes to the United fan base. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people, a lot of people don't. I think there's no doubt that when he was on form, like everybody was a big fan of him, including me. My issue came with I thought that he didn't really have a striker's instinct. I always thought he was more of a left-sided player because he really liked to dribble and his close control was outrageous, to be honest. Zirkzee, I mean, he might not be as clean, but he is in that sort of profile. My only issue would be, or I guess one of the issues, because I don't know a hell of a lot about him. But it would be about if you've got him and Hoyland, you know, there isn't really a clear hierarchy about who's first choice. So
Mhm. Yep.
I know people compare it to like Holland and Alvarez because, oh, wait, why can't we have two good strikers? City have two good strikers. Yeah, but I think the slight difference there is like there's a clear like hierarchy between Holland and Alvarez, whereas
Right.
Xerxes,
Mhm.
I don't know what you think. It could cause some harmony, harmony like issues in terms of the dynamics there.
Yeah, I think that, certainly a consideration on this is how does it all fit together? I think where, perhaps the kind of interesting thing about United's whole front line at the moment, if you look at the first choice players, is Garnacho, Hoyland, Rashford all kind of do the same things in a lot of ways. And so, if you bring in Xerxes, I'm not saying you go for positionless forwards, but to some degree, there's a bit of that, right? That
Yeah,
how do you fit them all together? How do you put it all in place? Who's starting? Who's not? What's the way that you're playing? But if you can, fortunately, them being young, Rasmus Hoyland, Garnacho being very young and having a lot of room to grow and develop, I think you could see situations where why not? You play Rasmus with Xerxes. You play, you mix it all together, and I think that could be pretty interesting, on that front. But certainly that's part of what you have to weigh things all up against with all of this is when you're bringing in depth in the front line, which we need because everybody's got to play way too many games, and we got extremely lucky. Hoyland was healthy after his initial back injury, and extremely lucky that Garnacho could play 40 something games straight, and extremely lucky, that Rashford made it through most of the season, given his injury issues too. The drop off is huge when you move to Anthony after that in terms of just quality in the team.
yeah.
So I think that that's part of it too. Is like those are the balances in football in general. How do you balance a strong, rounded out team with making sure everybody gets the right minutes and the right play and all of that. But
I certainly,
yeah.
yeah, I certainly think he'll get enough minutes if he does play or if he does join. I certainly, I don't see a situation where, like one of the issues I had with the Mason Mount signing was that like it became pretty apparent early on that Ten Hag didn't really know how to utilize Mason Mount.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think if you've got Xerxes, I think that because Hoyland isn't really established yet. He had a good season. There's clearly a lot of fundamentals there, but he's not going to play every game. So I think Xerxes could be a good option. I actually have one more question, and it might be a bit of like a long-winded one, so I don't know how in depth you can go into it. Um, it's about like the transfer window in general. So if we
Mm-hmm.
look at like the outlay we've had of expenditure in the last 2 summers, it's been pretty high without any major sales.
Mm-hmm.
I don't,
Yep.
don't was it James Garner maybe 15 million is the most we've
Yep. Yep.
recouped. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So I was just wondering this summer, like how much wiggle room really is there with like PSR and F? Because personally, I'm never that optimistic when it comes to these summer windows under the Glazers, but obviously Glazers are no longer in control. But
Yeah.
technically, they have shafted us anyway because of the huge expenditure we've had. I'm not
Yep.
expecting any crazy like 200, 300 because I don't know, it could be wrong, but we've had a lot of spend in the last 2 summers without really getting rid of anybody. So what's the deal with that, if you know?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question, and I was talking about this quite a bit yesterday in the live, which is that, technically United could spend quite a bit of money, a few hundred million, when you look at it next season, because one of their biggest loss years falls off, especially if you have some sales that are profitable, like Mason Greenwood, and these kinds of things, and they'd have the space to spend. But of course, the issue with spending is that you're not spending once; you're spending 5 times every time you buy a player. You're spending over 5 summers every time you buy a player. So you still want to keep your losses under control. We don't know that they're going to want to invest every year to raise that loss cap from 15 million to 105 million where it is now. We don't know that they're going to want to pump money in every single season in order to keep that going. That we don't know. And so in 2 years and 3 years, for a long time, United ran near break even or even slightly profitable. So you never had to worry about it, even with spending a lot of money. But with the COVID losses, as well as some really bad spending in the last few years, it got really tight, very difficult, and they need to climb back out of that. And I think what they don't want to do is, even if they could spend a few hundred million this summer, is go and spend it on players they're not sure of or make any expensive mistakes, because if they spend 250 to 300 this year, they can't do it again next year. There's just not the money for that. And so it'd be better to spread the spending out a little bit, get what you need, but next year you have another year under your belt. Still progress the team forward. There's no doubt about that, but be a little more settled on the way you're playing, a little more settled on manager, a little more settled on, people you're bringing in, like if you're bringing Dan Ashworth in and actually getting that done, and then being able to maximize your budget, because expensive mistakes, they can't afford it. There's just not the room financially to have another, 70, 80 million, 60 million that goes to waste. They've got to win with these signings. And so I think they're being a little more discerning on that, where they're not going to spend a whole bunch of money on a player. They're not, in general, they don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on players. They will pursue and probably make bigger offer for Braithwaite. But, they're not going to go over the moon for players they're not totally convinced of. They're certainly not going to drive the prices really high. And I don't think they're going to go for any 40, 50 million players that are like way down their list. I think they're going to need to be players they really want, or they won't buy them. And that'll be kind of the difference now. And then if they're smart this summer and they do it right, and we get good players that do work, the ability to spend next summer is probably going to be way bigger. And just in general, it will be way bigger, because another big year of losses will have fallen off. And so it'll keep getting better and better. And so it's a process. So the two factors are, and is it sensible to spend all their space now, or to save a good amount of it for later? And that would be the consideration.
I think it's interesting to hear that, because I think they're probably banking on next year. When I look at Jim Ratcliffe's interview with Bloomberg, he really, it seems like he can't go an interview without mentioning gardening leave and Dan Ashworth. It really seems to piss him off. So that kind of tells me he didn't expect it to take this long, meaning that maybe next year there's going to be a lot of less uncertainty, and Dan Ashworth will be in. You'll have the situation with Ten Hag will be totally resolved. Either next year's make or break as far as I'm Ten Hag. So I think next year they're banking on it, this summer, if we can just do what we have to do, but we're not going to go crazy with players that we're not 100% certain on, as you were saying. But then next year is the year where you can really start to grease the wheels and get them in motion, and that's a welcome change from what we've had for a long time. So I'm okay with that. For
sure. Personally. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Raph. Thanks for all that.
Appreciate it.
Cool. All right. I'm going to end it there. It's been a bit over an hour. I'll answer a couple questions in there. I don't know anything about this thing about challenging the Todibo decision. I think that's rather difficult. And we'll see. We'll see what happens on the rest of this. But I think this was a real interesting way of doing this. I hope you guys like this type of stream. I know it's a bit different. Make sure to subscribe and follow the channel. the more it gets, the more things we can do. There's other stuff to happen that we can do on this. I'm obviously going to still do the YouTube videos, still do the lives and all that, but the advantage of this platform is what we just did, that it's a little easier to watch YouTube videos and things like that, which I want to do. Maybe, you know, next time we'll do, like, if there's more names that are coming out, like maybe we'll do one on Braithwaite where we can share on the different platforms in the videos, where we can do all of that, where we can bring people on stage for questions. Yeah, just different content. The idea is something different, a different way of doing this. And I'm also testing it out because maybe, you know, if Phil and I do the podcast, we could do it on here live, where we could answer some questions this way as well. It's just a thought. I'm considering different things there, but yeah, that would be yeah, I think it was real interesting. And the video will be available afterwards when it's finished. You can watch it just like a live stream on YouTube, and be a lot of fun. And I think that doing the pod, and I think that doing the during the season, one of the reasons I want to try it is, like, we could talk about on match day where it's a little more discussion, like talk about the lineup as it's coming out, talk about reviewing it afterwards, these types of things, and a bit more flexibility in the platform. Okay. Thank you for all, and no ads, so it's a bit more of an interactive stream for sure, for sure. And if I ever get good, you know, at analyzing things, you know, like tactical stuff like that, you know, putting things on stream, all of that, then I'll do it. It's a little bit easier because I can do it all directly on here instead of having to go through Streamlabs and stuff. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for everybody who came on and chatted. I'm going to put a video out tomorrow. I might try to do a couple different things. And yeah, cool. That's what I've got for now. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you later.